The taste of betrayal hit my tongue before my brain could process the words. "Your signature or your parents lose everything," Nathan said, sliding the mortgage document across my kitchen table. The room seemed to shrink as my sister Beatrice stood behind him, her face a mask of cold determination I'd never seen before. "You have the money, Adam," she said, her voice eerily detached as she placed her hand possessively on Nathan's shoulder. "We need a guarantor by tomorrow, and Mom and Dad's retirement fund won't cover it." My fingers trembled against the polished oak, the table our grandfather had built, the one Beatrice and I had fought over when our parents downsized. The table she'd insisted I take because you'll have a family someday. The document before me would tie me to a $780,000 loan for their luxury renovation business, a business whose books I'd glimpsed by accident last Christmas, revealing margins too thin to support such debt. "I can help you make a better business plan," I offered, my voice tight with restrained panic. "This loan is predatory. You'll default within." Nathan's fist came down so hard the salt shaker toppled. "We didn't ask for your financial advice," he snarled. "We asked for your signature. That's what family does." "My name is Adam. I'm 34 and a financial advisor. This is the story of how I learned that blood isn't just what binds us, it's what can drown us if we aren't careful." I'd always been the cautious sibling. While Beatrice charmed her way through life with ambitious dreams and magnetic charisma, I built my security brick by careful brick. Our parents beamed with pride when she married Nathan, with his tailored suits and promises of building an empire. "Your sister found someone who dreams as big as she does," my mother had whispered during their wedding reception. "Maybe someday you'll take more chances too." What started as occasional requests for advice had evolved into persistent financial pressure. First came the temporary loan when they expanded too quickly. Then the request to co-sign for equipment. Each time I hesitated, Beatrice would mention our childhood oath, the one we'd made after our uncle abandoned our aunt during their financial crisis. "We promised we'd never let family suffer," she'd remind me, eyes glistening with practiced tears. But this mortgage guarantor request was different. The paperwork revealed hidden clauses, astronomical interest rates, and my name as the primary responsible party if they defaulted, which their business trajectory made inevitable. "I can't sign this," I said finally, pushing the document away. "I'd be putting my own future at risk, and it wouldn't even solve your problems long term." Something dark flickered across Nathan's face. Beatrice's eyes narrowed to slits. "After everything I've done for you," she hissed. "I protected you from bullies. I convinced Mom and Dad to pay for your degree instead of my wedding. I introduced you to Melissa." She leaned across the table, her voice dropping. "I kept your secret when you nearly failed that licensing exam. And this is how you repay loyalty." Nathan's posture shifted, predatory and tense. My sister stepped back slightly, giving him space. "We are family," he said, his voice dangerously soft. "And family doesn't say no." I didn't see the first punch coming, just felt the explosion of pain as my jaw cracked sideways. Before I could recover, his fist connected again, sending me sprawling to the floor. My shoulder wrenched with sickening force as I tried to break my fall. Blood filled my mouth, copper-sharp and warm. Through swimming vision, I looked up at my sister, waiting for her horrified intervention. Instead, she crossed her arms and said coolly, "You should have signed the mortgage." Pain gave way to something worse, the realization that the sister who had once bandaged my scraped knees was watching my blood soak into the carpet without an ounce of remorse. I managed to drag myself to my car, driving one-handed to our parents' house, certain they would help. My father opened the door, his expression shifting from welcome to horror. My mother's scream seemed to come from underwater as consciousness faded. I woke in the hospital to hushed voices and beeping monitors. My jaw was wide shut, my shoulder immobilized. The police officer by my bed looked grim as he showed me photos of Nathan's previous assault charges, sealed records I'd never known existed. "Would you like to press charges?" he asked. Through the haze of pain medication, a strange clarity emerged. Charges would lead to a trial, probation perhaps. It wouldn't undo the betrayal. It wouldn't protect my parents from whatever Beatrice and Nathan had planned for them. No. This required something more precise. Not yet, I managed through clenched teeth. During those weeks of recovery, I transformed pain into purpose. I didn't waste energy on rage or self-pity. Instead, I researched. With my financial background and industry connections, information wasn't hard to find. Nathan's business loan applications contained falsified revenue projections. Their tax returns showed discrepancies. Most disturbing was discovering they'd already convinced my parents to take a second mortgage on their paid-off home, money that had vanished into Nathan's company with nothing to show for it. I didn't confront them. I didn't warn them. When Beatrice called with a half-hearted apology 3 weeks later, I accepted it quietly. Nathan feels terrible, she lied smoothly. He's under so much pressure with the business. If you'd just reconsider the guarantor position, we could put this ugly incident behind us. I understand pressure, I said, my voice still distorted from the healing jaw. I'm not angry anymore. Her relief was palpable. She thought I was surrendering. I returned to work, my demeanor subdued. Colleagues attributed my quietness to my accident. In private, I meticulously documented every irregularity in Nathan's business. I tracked shell companies he'd created to hide debts. I found the contractors he'd stiffed, the suppliers he'd defrauded with bad checks. 4 months after the assault, I visited my parents with a folder of evidence. My mother's hands shook as she reviewed their altered loan documents, signatures that had been modified to increase the amount after they'd signed. My father's face hardened when he saw proof that the investment returns Nathan had promised were fabricated. We trusted them, my father whispered. We gave them everything. I know, I replied. And now we have to protect what's left. The next phase required precision. I didn't want scorched earth, I wanted surgical extraction. I worked with the bank to freeze the fraudulent accounts before more of my parents' money could be transferred. I connected with the state financial investigator who had been tracking similar schemes. I provided documentation to the contractors who had been seeking legal recourse. Then I waited for the inevitable collapse. It came on a Tuesday. Beatrice called in a panic, her controlled facade cracking. The accounts are frozen. Nathan can't access anything. The police came to the office with questions about the business loans. What's happening? Maybe you should have been more careful with your paperwork, I replied, echoing her cold detachment from that night. The silence on the line stretched. You did this, she finally whispered. No, Beatrice. You did this the moment you decided family was just a resource to exploit. That evening, I drove to their house. Nathan answered the door, his face haggard, his confidence evaporated. Beatrice sat surrounded by papers, frantically trying to hide evidence before the scheduled police search the next morning. Why are you here? Nathan demanded, but the menace had drained from his voice. I stepped inside uninvited. To witness. You're enjoying this, Beatrice accused, tears streaking her makeup. Your own sister. I touched my jaw where the surgical wire had been. You stopped being my sister when you watched him assault me and felt nothing. It was just business, Nathan insisted desperately. We would have paid everything back. So is this, I replied. Consider it bankruptcy of trust. When the police arrived with their warrant, I stood quietly as reality crashed down around them. The charges were extensive: fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion, elder financial abuse, and for Nathan, felony assault. As they were led away, Beatrice locked eyes with me. I protected you our whole lives, she said, her voice breaking. And I'm protecting our parents now, I answered. That's what actual family does. In the aftermath, I helped my parents recover what funds they could. The legal system handled the rest. Nathan received 7 years for his combined crimes. Beatrice, 3 years with possibility of parole. Their house, the one they couldn't actually afford, was sold to repay creditors. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty for turning in my own sister. They don't understand that guilt belongs to those who betray, not those who respond to betrayal. Family isn't a blank check to be cashed against someone else's future. It's a bond of mutual protection. I still have the table our grandfather built. Sometimes I run my fingers over its surface and remember Beatrice as she once was, before greed and desperation transformed her. But I never question my decision. When family becomes predatory, survival requires recognizing the threat, even when it shares your blood. The most important lesson wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. Love doesn't require sacrifice of your future. Family doesn't mean surrendering your security. And sometimes, the most profound act of self-respect is simply saying no, then making it stick.